Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Board of Supervisors meetings. I apologize to my colleagues who are looking at the old school clock and saw that it was after 9, but I'm of the technological age, and I see it says 9 o'clock on the satellite clock that I have in front of me, so I'll go with the accuracy of technology. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will be led by Supervisor Cox, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, we will begin today's board meeting by starting with item number 1. That is a presentation given by the California Association of California Counties to the Tulare County Library for receiving the Merit Award and the Challenge Award. David. Nice to see you. How was your drive this morning?
Actually, I came down last night and it was wonderful.
Good.
3.5 hours of going through construction after construction. But thank you for having me here today. I'm David Liebler with the California State Association of Counties, and I appreciate being able to go on at 9:01, so thank you very much. I do a lot of things in my job. Directing the Challenge Awards has to be the most fulfilling thing I do, to be able to go out in the counties and really honor counties for the innovation and the creativity that you display on a daily basis. CSAC created the Challenge Awards in the mid-1990s to do just that, to spotlight innovation and creativity. And over the years, the program has grown in popularity to the point where we get 225, 250 entries each year from counties. The past 5-7 years, counties have faced, as you know better than anybody, an increase in, incredible increase in demands for service. At the same time, you're facing fiscal constraints, which still linger. And through all that, counties have continued to look for ways to provide services more cost-effectively and more efficiently. And I'm really pleased today to be here today to honor 2 programs that your county library has developed that have been doing just that. I want to start off with the program we're presenting a Merit Award to. It's Your Library in More Places. I was talking to your county librarian, Jeff Scott, just outside, and I mentioned that during the judging process, our judging panel brought up the fact that it reminded him of the red boxes. And I wanted to make sure if I said that wouldn't be an insult or anything. He said, no, not at all. But they did see it as just that. As, in the red boxes, you pay money, you can get basically probably maybe a B movie that's probably not very good for your kids to watch. And you folks have taken that technology and brought the county library out to places that, that your residents may not necessarily have an opportunity to get books. So you can go out and you can check books out on your own time. It's a program that our judging panel found to be very, very replicable and cost-effective, and is something that a lot of counties have faced exactly the same sort of challenges about how do you provide library services to a rural population, something they thought would fit in really well around California. So with that, I want to present a CSAC Merit Award to the Board of Supervisors, County Librarian Jeff Scott, and staff member Judy Hill. And we're not done with the library because now we move on to our Challenge Award. And that one we want to present to the Tulare County for the County Library's Teen Digital Media Lab. Our judging panel thought this was a wonderful example of molding together technology, teenagers, and the library, which in this day and age is a very, very challenging task. But by engaging teens and providing them with digital resources and guiding them to be creative, the county library staff has done just that. The end result is a program that is gaining in popularity while keeping teens engaged and entertained. And an added benefit is the teens are also helping the library develop new programs. I have a son who's 17 and another who turns 21 next month. And in an era where there's social media, the internet, and this absolute onslaught on our teens for information, we need to make sure that we keep a focus on the valuable asset that we have in our county libraries. The challenge is how do we engage that next generation so that happens. And I really believe that this program, and I know our judging panel believes this program is a way to do just that. So I'm honored to present a 2013 Challenge Award to the Board of Supervisors, County Librarian Jeff Hill, and Teen Librarian Faith Arredondo. So on behalf of CSAC and your fellow 57 counties, we congratulate you on 2 fantastic programs. CSAC staff will be back down here probably December, early next year. We'll be doing a video on the Teen Digital Lab that will roll out during National and County Government Month, where we do video on our Challenge Award recipient programs. Tulare County has proven once again to be a local government leader in providing innovative and valuable programs. And keep up the great work, and thank you for your time. Thanks.
Any of my colleagues like to make any comments about these awards?
Chairman, I would be remiss, I think maybe at this point in time, to point out that another library event coming up in District 4, that'll be this coming Thursday at, if I have my time correctly here, it's going to be, what time is it going to be? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We will be reopening the library in Woodlake, so invite the folks to come out for that event. Our library has been innovative, and the tutoring program for students online, the access of digital books online and so forth, we really are providing library services to people. And again, we don't want to downplay the joy and the benefit of having bricks and mortar libraries, but providing library services is very limited in that respect, and the ability to provide it to everybody through the web access, to me, is a great step forward in our library services, and I think I appreciate the effort by Jeff and his staff in promoting these things and moving forward, and congratulations to you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Well,
Supervisor Cox?
one of the things I like about Jeff, we're relatively new to being this department head, and I tell you what, he's been very wonderful to work with. We ran an idea by him here about a month ago. How do you feel about carrying this, a different line of books that we don't now have? And he right away was like, okay, I'll find out where I can get them. So very innovative, forward thinking, and this red box type scenario here, I think this is great, giving many more people the opportunity to have access to good books, because if you can't read, you're not going to be able to succeed in this life. So I think that's a good opportunity for people out in these areas where we can't afford to have libraries open, 6-7 days a week. Very innovative. So thank you, Jeff. Very good.
And I'll just finish up the comments by just complimenting you, and really compliments to the library and library staff, because you're not really the most flashy of departments or the one that everyone's talking about all the time, but you provide so many resources to the public. And like Supervisor Cox said, it's the ability to read equals the ability to succeed. And without that, our population, which especially needs it because of our high unemployment rate and the literacy rate in this county, it's very important to have those resources in areas where it's difficult to access, reading materials and educational materials to pick oneself up and move themselves forward. So I really appreciate all of your efforts, and look, you're even being recognized by the State Association for your efforts, and I think it's really something to be very proud of. So keep up the good work, and we look forward to working with you to help you be even more innovative and do more with the limited resources that are allocated to you. So thank you very much, and congratulations. Item number 2 on our agenda is to present a proclamation honoring Joe and Pat Lewis of Exeter Meats. And I will turn it over to Supervisor Ishida.
Just come right around.
It isn't often we honor a business by the honored by the Board of Supervisors. This business is rather unique. It did not just serve the community of Exeter, but it served many people in Tulare County. Pat and Joe purchased Exeter Food Lockers in 1971 and changed the name to Exeter Meats and Processing. They have worked with dozens of youth over the last 4 decades in partnership with T-Cove and employing Exeter High School students as part of the youth work program. They began their relationship with the Exeter Union High School Ag Department and blossomed into a friendship leading to hundreds of ag students getting the first-hand look at the livestock end of food processing. They've been actively involved in their community, their church, and offered many of their meats and sausages at discounts to numerous fundraising events. Exeter Meats has been an integral part of the Porterville Fair when it came to cutting and wrapping the majority of the animals sold at the fair. In 2009, Pat and Joe received the Exeter Chamber of Commerce Heritage Award for their many years of community service and involvement. Joe served several terms as the president of the California Association of Meat Processors. Whereas Joe entered the smoked meat into some annual competitions, it is said that his marinated meats and sausages have truly been around the world. Let it be resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors therefore honor Patton and Joe and Exeter Meats for 42 years of community service and great service to all our youth. Before I give you this proclamation, Supervisor Ennis has a few words.
Yeah, my wife and I chair the sales committee for the Porterville Fair, so we sell well over 300 animals every year, beef, pork, lambs. Well, I'll tell you, Joe and Pat here took about 75% of those animals. And I'll tell you, we never worried about it. But it was an educational process. We had to get our buyers, because we've got all different kind of buyers, and they come on every year. And Pat would say, make sure they get the right phone number on there so we can call them up and find out how they want this meat cut. So this was an educational deal for us. But let me tell you, we never worried about sending meat to Exeter Meats because it was always done right. It's always double wrapped, which is very important when you're freezing meat. And they always did an excellent job. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Turn this way for a photograph. You're more than welcome.
Congratulations, and keep up the good work out there in Exeter. That's great to hear all the great things you do for the community because it makes a difference throughout the county.
Mr. Chairman, the reason we brought this forward is Pat and Joe have retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So we have
Well,
you
congratulations on a wonderful career.
Thank you, PK, for coming over and supporting your parents. We appreciate you, too. Thank you.
And PK the redhead, everybody knows who she is, and that's Pat and Joe's daughter.
Hopper in the morning.
Well, congratulations.
I do
Cox?
have one complaint, though. I think our fellow supervisors forgot to tell the recipients that they're supposed to bring something. So I was expecting some like medium rare fillets over there on the front.
Well, they would have, but they're retired now.
All right, we will now move on to item number 3 on our agenda this morning. That is to present a proclamation honoring Lolly Moheno as the 2013 recipient of the California Peace Prize. We have our own local celebrity here with us today, so if she would please join Supervisor Cox, he will be presenting this proclamation.
I tell you what, when when I saw this, I was so excited. I'm not one to read proclamations, but I'd like to tell you a little something about Lolly here. That there are very few people in this world who care like this woman right here cares. And her commitment to the underserved is unmeasurable. She has a passion for serving in this arena, and this is just a small token of recognition I think is probably long overdue and well-deserved. I wrote something here. When I think about Lolly, I think, and this is really it, the underserved are not forgotten. They're really not forgotten. Her passion that she puts into the work, I know I've been on the receiving end of the phone call where she's putting together this wonderful conference, and it started out, I think you were hoping to get maybe 100 women, and then it was 1,000, and then it was 2,000, and then so I think her possibilities to serve these folks is unlimited. Serving some of the hardest working females in the county, our female farm workers. What a wonderful thing. I can tell you, when it came time for this Board of Supervisors to consider outreach on the redistricting issue, when we faced that here a couple of years, there was really only one clear choice of someone to work with to help us get that word out and help us get the information out to the people in the county, and that was Lolly. And she did a wonderful job reaching out to her contacts, holding meetings in different communities throughout the county, and we are just so thankful to have Lolly in our community, and so proud to call her one of ours.
Thank you.
I am going to, there's one line here I'm going to read. Today, the conference is growing from an annual event into a nonprofit organization. I don't know if you know what it takes to put together a nonprofit organization, but it's not an easy thing to do. Lolly plans to use the $25,000 prize money to go towards the cost of getting the nonprofit up and running. So Lolly, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors and the tens of thousands of women and farm workers that you serve in Tulare County, thank you for your dedication, and I gladly present you with this proclamation.
Thank you.
And please, you take as much
Okay,
time.
thank you. Thank you, Chairman Vanderpool and Supervisor Cox and the rest of the board for this beautiful recognition. But projects are not done alone. I have had very good people behind me and people who are ready to go and work. First of all, I want to say thank you to my husband, Victor. He's right here taking pictures. In the very first meeting that I had with women, when I was supposed to only have 50, and close to over 200 showed up, I was at the Holiday Inn. I had rented a little room, and I was in trouble with the lunch count because I didn't have any money. We're volunteers, by the way, the people who put this conference together. We don't get paid. Others pay, like my husband, Victor. So I called him. I said, I need your credit card. And he has always provided his credit cards to us. Up to a budget. Yeah, we're on a budget. And he also provides our guest cards for mileage and all of that. And so I really appreciate that. And he has always done that for us. The other thing is the county departments. First of all, Dr. Cheryl Dirksen. I call her Dirksen. We all do, all the women. Dr. Dirksen has been with us from day one. She doesn't only provide the funding, but she also provides the staff. As you know, that we went into the Mental Health Service Act, And together, we were able to put Tulare County on the map with the MHSA. We were one of the few counties that did things right. And we never got in trouble with anybody. We had to clear up some things through mental health, but she has always been there. And we could not do it without her because we're a very low-cost conference. We're the only conference in the state of California that focuses on agriculture workers. And California's economy is based on agriculture. And I've gotten calls. I've gotten calls from 5 other counties, all the way up to Contra Costa County. They want to know, how do you guys do it? With, less than 30,000, we have 1,500 people, all paid up. Nobody pays a registration fee due to Dr. Dirksen. The other department that is very helpful is the Tulare County Sheriffs. The Sheriff's Department is one of the, I call them user-friendly, one of the user-friendly departments that this county has with us. They send the gang prevention, the suppression unit. They set up a table, and it's very interesting. A lot of you in this room would like to see it. They set up tables of what it takes for kids to do weapons with household items. I was amazed at what happens with household items. They do that. They bring in the garb that the women should look for. They were one of the most popular exhibitors there at the conference. And so I want to thank the Tulare County Sheriffs. The other one is the DA's office. The DA brings in the domestic violence, the victims programs. They bring in their exhibits, and they're also very popular. Out of this conference, with the help of the departments, we've been able to we just did a film, a PBS project on mental health. Tulare County was very involved in that, thanks again to Dirksen. And then we also did, and we were on PBS all over the state. The other project we worked on, we did a sexual harassment in the fields film. And the film has just been completed in English and Spanish, and it was done by the Center for Investigative Report. And again, we want to thank Dirksen. And that film, we'll bring it here so the staff can see it, Dr. Dirksen. But everything has come out of here. We've served over 10,000 women with information from the departments. We're the only county that not only helps the registration, to offset registration costs, but we're also the only county that brings in the departments to the conference. All the other counties have had issues with some of their little conferences. That's what they're calling us. They're saying, how do you get HHSA not only to be there, but to also help financially? Well, thanks to the vision of Dr. Dirksen and Supervisor Vanderpool and everyone else who has served in the Mental Health Board. So it's an exciting time. Now, I also want to introduce Annabelle Valdez, she does all the paperwork, and she does everything you can think of. Everything, all the programs, she does everything. And then Rosalinda Vitia, who's also a trustee for Tulare Regional. She's the conference co-chair. And then we have my nephew, Jose Angel Sainz. Believe it or not, he just got out of BYU, and he's the one who helped with the nonprofit paperwork because the attorneys, sorry for my husband being here right now, but the attorney wanted to charge us like $5,000 to $10,000. And we said, oh, where am I going to get that money from? So my nephew, a student, volunteered to help out with that. And then at he went to Sacramento with me, and we walked all over the place. And then he also, at the conference, he does all the technical stuff. He sets up the mics and computers and makes sure all the women can listen to all the seminars. And so thank you so much, Jose Angel. And then we have another funder here. I just saw Bill Delane from Southern California Edison. Edison is a big funder of the conference. The other is AT&T, Family Healthcare Network, Tulare Regional, and Cahuilla Delta. And Justin's provides free printing. They donate close to $5,000 on printing. And also UC Medical School, UC Davis Medical School is behind us. And so they're very impressed with Tulare County. I have to send to the medical school all these things from this county. I just sent the crop report, and I hope you guys read the crop report, all of you in this room. Tulare County just put that up. And so it's excellent. There's good news in there, in the crop report. And so I just sent a whole bunch of copies to UC Medical. And so thank you so much, all of you. Let me see. Oh, Susana too is in the committee. Is there anybody else from our committee? No? They're working today, so. Okay, thank you so much, Tulare County Board of Supervisors and Dr. Dirksen, the sheriffs, and everybody else. Thank you so much, guys.
Lolly, thank you for your comments, and really thank you for all of your efforts. You know, it does take a lot of community partners and county departments that all collaborate and help make this happen, but it certainly takes individuals like your committee, like yourself, to pull all these resources together and put on a valuable event and provide valuable information to women who really need it in our county and in our community and all over the state. So kudos to you, and may this prize be a treasure in your heart, in your home, and for the women in Tulare County to know that they were a part of that effort. So thank you very much. Anyone else like to make any comments?
Well, just real quickly, I'm just so pleased that Lolly got this award, and it's not surprising at all to me about the funds being used for charitable purposes to further the work she's engaged in. One thing I just want to say about Lolly is that I had the privilege of working with her on the Board of Supervisors, and she is such, she does have this passion, as Phil said, for the underserved, but she's also a very practical person. Sometimes we run into impracticality, sometimes the idea of trying to help everyone. We recognize there's limited resources. Lolly is a very practical person, focused on getting things actually done, and they do get done under her efforts. And so congratulations to you, Lolly. Congratulations to you, Victor. Maybe it'll be less pressure on your credit card. So, thank you for being here today.
Supervisor Ishida?
I remember when the state of California passed Proposition 63, which was for the underserved in mental health. And we had a very short issue about how do we reach our community. Well, it only took about a nanosecond to say, Lolly Mahano. And Lolly did such a great job going out to all the communities, organizing meetings to get feedback, which was the basis of how Tulare County implemented Proposition 63. Now, Lolly's been used many times other than for Proposition 63 because of her abilities to get out in the communities and get the feedback that stakeholders need to develop programs. I haven't seen in 9 years anyone more competent on what she does than Lolly Mahano. So thank you, Lolly.
All right, thank you, and may you enjoy the day. Rosalinda? Yeah, sure, absolutely, go for it. You can use either microphone.
Well, thank you to the board for acknowledging Lolly in this beautiful recognition. On behalf of the many farm worker families that I work with throughout Tulare, Kings, and Kern County, I want to acknowledge her also and thank you for the wonderful awards and your words of recognition and wisdom for Lolly. I've known Lolly for over 20 years. She was my supervisor at one time and my mentor, and I'm just so happy that she's still my friend and still mentoring me, and also Victor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda that we are going to move on to is item number 4. That's a presentation to adopt a resolution proclaiming September 24th, 2013 as National Voter Registration Day and encourage all eligible Californians to register to vote.
That's
Frida.
a tough act to follow there. Okay, we're here today to ask you to declare September 24th, 2013 as National Voter Registration Day here in Tulare County. The Secretary of State has issued a proclamation along with her peers across the country. Someone in the audience this morning said that they heard it on CNN even. So everybody in the whole U.S. is out trying to get voters registered, or to get people registered so they will vote today, and educate them on why to vote. Here in Tulare County, we have a population of about 450,000. And the Secretary of State says that we have 252,000 of those are eligible to register. Actually, right now, we have about 145,000 registered voters. That's 57.5% of the people who are eligible are registered to vote. And then how many of them turn out to vote? In the last presidential election, November 6, 2012, the total turnout was 102,184. That's 70% of the registered voters. And when that's only about half of them, that's, not very many. To break that out even further, for some statistics, we have the people who voted by mail were 61,280 of that 102,000, which was 42% of the registered voters, which is 60% of the turnout voted by mail. And 74% of those were returned to our office before Election Day. So the people voting at the polling place was 40,904, which is 40% of the turnout. Even if you are already registered, you may need to re-register. Have you moved since the last time that you registered to vote? Would you like to change your political party? Has your name or your signature changed? All of the above are reasons to re-register. You are eligible to vote in California if you are a United States citizen and a resident of California and 18 years of age or older on Election Day. So you could register when you're 17 still if you're going to be 18 on Election Day. And you're not in prison, on parole, or serving a sentence for a felony, and not found by a court to be mentally incompetent. There are 3 ways that you can easily register to vote, through the mail, online, and in person. You can pick up a registration card at your local Department of Motor Vehicles, local libraries, and post offices, and then fill it out and mail it in. We're grateful to the League of Women Voters for stocking the registration forms at these locations. It's quite a service they do for us at the election office. We don't have to send people out all over the county. They do a wonderful job for us. You can also call the Tulare County Elections Office at 559-624-7300, and they will mail you a registration card. Registering online is easier now that the Secretary of State has a new program on their website to register at www.sos.ca.gov to register to vote online. You can also register in person by coming to the Tulare County Elections Office and register to vote. That office is at 5951 South Mooney Boulevard in Visalia, across from Mooney Grove Park. Voting by mail is an easy way in our mobile society. It's an efficient and convenient way to vote. If you would like to receive your ballot in the mail, you can mark the appropriate box when you register to vote. Also, on the sample ballot that you receive, you'll include a vote-by-mail application on the back and fill that out and return it. Once you are a permanent vote-by-mail voter, you will receive your ballot in the mail for future elections. Your vote counts. Once you are registered, you must remember to vote. Many people only vote in the presidential election. However, your vote has even more weight in the smaller local elections, where 1 or 2 voters can decide which person will serve on a board or if a bond will pass or not. Sometimes there's only 50 people in a certain area voting for a person to be on a special district board or something, and 1 or 2 votes makes a difference. There are registration drives going on today by the League of Women Voters. They'll be helping community members register to vote in 2 different locations today for National Voter Registration Day. That's at the Visalia Mall from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., so these ladies need to get out of here really quickly. And that's at Mooney Boulevard and Walnut Avenue. And the Food Max in Visalia at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. That's at Houston Avenue and North Bend Maddox Way. I also have heard from the Tulare County Republican Party. They are manning a booth at Dinuba at the Walmart Center there. The Young Democrats are manning a booth at COS today. And ASETCO is manning a booth somewhere in Porterville, but I don't know exactly where. Maybe PK knows. She hears about Porterville quite a bit. Today, Board, we're asking you to adopt a resolution proclaiming September 24th as National Voter Registration Day and encourage all eligible Californians to register to vote. There are some members of the League of California, League of Women Voters here today. We have Mary Lou Burberry, Joy Marshall, and Mila Malconian here today, too. So I give it back to you, Board.
All right. Well, this is an action item, and this is item number 4, and we'll move on to item number 5 shortly following our action on item number 4. I will entertain a motion.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Ennis, a second by Supervisor Worthley. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. That'll take us on to item number 5, which is to present a proclamation to the League of Women Voters honoring them for their services in registering voters in Tulare County. So I would like the women that are present with us today to join me here in the well for this proclamation presentation. All right, so here's a proclamation that I am presenting honoring the League of Women Voters for their services in registering voters in Tulare County. Whereas the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in government. It influences public policy through education and advocacy. And whereas the League of Women Voters was formed in 1920, it's a long time ago, as an outgrowth of the movement to give women the right to vote following the passage of the 19th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. And whereas, since its inception, the League has helped millions of women and men become informed participants in government. And whereas the League of Women Voters has 2 separate and distinct roles, and whereas they provide voter service and citizen education by presenting unbiased partisan information about elections, the voting process, and issues. And whereas the League also serves as an action and advocacy organization which, after study, uses their position to advocate for or against particular policies in the public interest. And whereas the goal of the League of Women Voters is to empower citizens to shape better communities worldwide. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors do hereby honor the League of Women Voters and extend their gratitude for their service in registering and educating voters in Tulare County. That's presented on this day, September 24th, 2013, signed by Supervisors Alan Ashita, Pete Vanderpool, Philip Cox, Steve Worthley, and Mike Ennis. So with great pride and pleasure, I present you with this proclamation and thank you for all of your efforts throughout the county to help better our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure appreciate it. Good luck in your voter registration drives today. Thank you.
I need to tell. I need to say one little thing.
Sure, go for it.
Lolly Mahano was a member of the League for many years. Maybe we started her on her way.
Thank you very much. All right, we will now move on to item number 6 on our agenda this morning. That is a presentation given by the Office of Emergency Services regarding Alert TC. Andrew, 2 times in 1 week.
Yes,
How
sir.
lucky are we?
That is subject to debate. Oh, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, CAO Council, and ladies and gentlemen. As part of our ongoing National Preparedness Month outreach and education efforts, I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking to you today about Alert TC. For those who aren't aware of Alert TC, this is Tulare County's mass notification system that we use for both emergency and limited non-emergency use to conduct outreach to the public. Our purpose for being here is obviously to increase awareness and participation in Alert TC. So if we can tack on to the voter registration, we'd ask people to take a couple seconds to think about registering for Alert TC as they're registering to vote. To give you a quick history, this system was implemented in 2008. We've utilized these systems that we've had over 800 times. Alert TC is a consistent branding that we have applied to various vendor platforms, and we have funded this system through Human Services, through the Telephone Emergency Notification System grant from the Governor's Office, and now the Homeland Security Grant Program through at least 2015. This is really an evolution beyond the standard emergency alert system. And what we found is that the emergency alert system typically requires people to have a radio or television on or to go buy special equipment such as a weather radio. This capability allows us to contact people regardless of whether they're pulling the information from traditional media or not. So if it's 4 in the morning and we need to wake you up to say get out, we have the ability to do that. Alert TC is used by the county in all of the cities they're in. We've been working recently with Sequoia and Kings National Parks, and we're looking at other partnerships within the county. So to give you a quick overview of the capabilities, the system has the ability to contact massive audiences. The limiting factor there is our local phone and telecommunications infrastructure, not the system itself. We're capable of contacting individuals via voice, email, text, be that SMS or MMS, fax, TDD or TTY, which are devices for the deaf or hard of hearing, as well as smartphone applications and including attachments such as photographs and documents and the channels that support them. We also have the ability to configure each call with the options that we find appropriate for that call, and we're now integrating with the wireless emergency alert system through FEMA's integrated public alert and warning platform. So some of you may have seen this alert on your phone about a month and a half ago on August 5th. That was a statewide Amber Alert, first time it's been used in the state, and it caught a lot of people off guard. You actually have on your agenda today, I believe it's item 18, the authorization for us to integrate our wireless emergency alert authority into the Alert TC platform, so that through one single operation, our public safety departments can trigger an emergency alert system notification, a wireless emergency notification, as well as sending out emails, text messages, phone calls, so on and so forth. So we're really excited as to where this is going. Some of the places we've been over the last 5 years, just to give a couple examples, we did a shelter in place for a hazardous materials incident in North Visalia on Easter Sunday. We also sent out 2 notifications, the City of Tulare and the City of Visalia, for the recent power outage on August 19th. One of them was advising of facilities that were available for folks who needed a cooling center. The other one was to conserve water so as to not take the City of Tulare's water system under pressure and making it unsafe to drink. Not something you would typically think of during a power outage, but it was an important issue. We made sure we get the word out on that. We've also used this in various small community water system failures to advise residents where they can pick up safe drinking water, and sandbag deliveries being made to neighborhoods during the storms of 2010. One of the big issues that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention today is the data that powers the system. The system is only as good as the data that we have available. You can see there a list of data sources. A couple of the key ones that I point out is the 911 databases and citizen opt-ins. We have a total of 199,000 records at this point, give or take. It fluctuates all the time. Most of those come from the 911 database. A trend that I'd like to point out that most folks maybe are somewhat aware of, somewhat not, is I apologize, that skewed a little bit on the PowerPoint, is the fact that the 911 database of landline telephones is shrinking while our population grows. You can see from 2009, when this chart started, through 2013, we've shrunk from 224,000 records to 114,000 records. And again, I apologize, the chart got a little skewed there. At the same time, our population continued to grow. What we're recognizing in that trend is that people are cutting the cord. I think we've all heard of this in one form or another. I was quite surprised to hear my 78-year-old grandfather-in-law, I suppose, getting rid of their home phone. It's typically, you think of the younger generations, but we're finding that all generations are getting rid of home phones and going with just cellular phones. We do not have a mechanism to automatically capture your cellular phone number for texting or calling you. That's why it's imperative that we have citizens opt in. So we're asking everyone to opt in, alerttc.com, provide your non-landline and non-voice information so we can text you, email you. Whatever your preference is, you have the ability to manage those preferences. You can also sign up for specific alerts in different categories of non-emergency alerts, as well as signing up for alerts in multiple locations, be it family members, residences, schools, so on and so forth. We have mail-in registration forms available from the Office of Emergency Services. Our phone number, if anybody would like to call and request them, is 624-7495. They're also available at local government offices, and we're working on an automated call-in registration coming soon. The last thing I'd like to touch on briefly is privacy. It seems to be a hot-button issue with the NSA recently. We'd just like to touch on the fact that all of our data is managed, transmitted, and stored securely from the white pages, yellow pages data through the 911 databases and anything that you submit online. Data source access is restricted to only those who are appropriately using that data, and those folks initiating calls cannot actually go into the data to view and research and so on and so forth. They only have access to send a call to that data. So the last thing that we just wanted to note, we do have various opt-in categories on the website to indicate special needs, specific business types, so on and so forth. Those are only used for emergency notification purposes to send special information. That is not something that first responders are going to be checking on their smartphones when they're en route to your call. And we also have wireless emergency alerts now available to us. However, those are only available on compatible devices, which have been sold in the last 2 years. So you may want to check with your phone manufacturer or carrier. So in closing, we'd just like to remind everyone that if you haven't registered, we may not be able to reach you during an emergency to give you critical information. This fulfills the be informed portion of the Get a Kit, Make a Plan, Be Informed message of National Preparedness Month. So with that, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. And I can tell you, I know I'm signed up because I was awoken by that Amber Alert on my iPhone that one random night that it came on. It wasn't even in Tulare County, but I knew of an emergency that was taking place in, I think it was San Diego, because it woke me up. So I was real glad that I registered for it. But really, truthfully, it's all very important to register for this, as we're seeing in the situations in Colorado with flooding, missing people, wildfires. The various storm events that happen in our country, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. Being able to contact people is very important so that they can stay safe and reunite with families. And I think that this Emergency Preparedness and Awareness Month is critical for our public to be aware that they need to be a part of a system so that they can guarantee their survival and stay informed as these different events are happening throughout our community. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your efforts. And I know Dean wanted to make a few comments.
Yeah, Gene Rousseau, County Administrative Officer. Andrew, good job as usual. He's doing a good job managing the emergency services area. It is critical that our citizens go online or send the information in to get their cell phone in the database. We can't alert you unless you let us know the number. And this is an example of how the cities and the county have come together in the Homeland Security arena and agreed to use a portion of those monies for this service. And we've used that to provide the service for free to our agencies for the last 6 years. So, again, it's a good example of partnering with the cities, and we need more examples of that. Thank you.
Right. Supervisor Ishida.
Andrew, could you repeat the website, because I couldn't read it from the...
Yes, sir. It's alerttc.com. So the word alert, T as in Tom, C as in Charles, or Tulare and County. So alerttc.com. It's also linked from the county's front page at tularecounty.ca.gov.
I don't really think any of my colleagues have to worry about signing up either, because I know they all have landlines still, so they're kind of back in the day, and so they're all going to be able to register through the phone.
I have Telegram.
Go ahead.
I don't think we support Telegram.
Pete, I feel good knowing that the chairman of the board's sleeping with his iPhone. So.
Yeah. All right, well, that's great. Let's keep the cracks coming. All right, thank you, Andrew, and don't let any of these jokes take away from your presentation. You did a fantastic job. All right, we are now going to move on to item number 7 on our agenda, and that's public comment. At this time, any member of the public can comment on any item not appearing on today's agenda, but worthy of our consideration. At this time, I will call up Mr. Fussell to make a special announcement and also make you aware, and especially this is critical for Britt because his presentations tend to go on. Public comments can and will be limited to 3 minutes.
I plan
Go
to
ahead,
use. Good morning, Supervisors. Britt Fussell, Assistant Director for Public Works with the Resource Management Agency, and I'll try my best to use my full 3 minutes. I would like to introduce to you this morning as our newest Chief Engineer in the Resource Management Agency, Johnny Wong. The Resource Management Agency has 2 Chief Engineer positions, one responsible for the engineering side of the house and one responsible for the transportation side of the house. Mr. Wong has been appointed as the Chief Engineer responsible for the transportation side of the house. You know Mr. Wong as the Division Manager for Operations, where he had responsibility over the road maintenance activities of the Resource Management Agency. And now, in addition to those, he will have responsibility to not only supervise that Division Manager when that position is filled, but also the Division Manager over the transit airports and the signing and striping operations. So with that, I would like to welcome to you Johnny Wong as your newest Chief Engineer.
Well, thank you. I have to say that it's a little different without me doing my PowerPoint presentation. Every time I'm up here, I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. But on the serious side, it's an honor and a privilege to be up here, not just being in the board chambers here, but being as a county employee overall. I've worked with the county ever since I graduated, and it's been 25 wonderful years and counting. With RMA, I do like to thank a couple of people here, especially Jake Raper, that saw the vision in me and gave me this opportunity to be the chief engineer. I appreciate that big time. Also, I wouldn't be the person I am working for RMA if it wasn't for staff, my friends, my colleagues within Tulare County and RMA. I appreciate that big time. As I came here 25 years back in '88, I started out as a design engineer, worked myself way up from the 1 to the 4 now. I've touched design, I've went into traffic, I've managed that, I've managed a little bit of transit, and of course all you know my passion is in roads. I just love roads with a passion. And I plan to bring that same passion with the chief engineer job, and I appreciate that. What is my biggest challenge? To wear this tie more and more. Presentations. It's always been a challenge, and me and Britt joke all the time that the only ties that I have are in this box in front of my desk that's already and all folded up and ready for me to put right on top and put on. So anyway, I thank you so much for this opportunity, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. We look forward to working with you. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah, when I got the word on Johnny, I called and left him a message on the phone, congratulating him. And the little thing that Johnny and I always do, and I'll talk to him on the phone, I said, Johnny, I can tell you're smiling while you're talking to me. So when he emailed me back, he emailed me thanking me for my comments on him, and he says, and by the way, Supervisor Ennis, I'm smiling while I'm... Congratulations to you.
Supervisor Ishida.
It's been a pleasure.
You.
Congratulations, Johnny. The promotion is well deserved. You've served us very well in the roads department, helping us doing our roads. But the most important thing to me right now is I need to know who your replacement is.
We're working on that one. You have firsthand.
Supervisor Worthy.
Well, I was going to say we all have Johnny on our speed dial because that's one of the common questions we get from people calling up about potholes and you name it. And, of course, Johnny, just as he is here today, that's the way he is, 24/7, always positive, willing to try to work to find a resolution for a problem. And so I plan on keeping him on my speed dial. He's just now another step ahead of it. We used to call him directly. Sorry, Jake, but very well deserved, Johnny. And it's always great to have people that we can elevate within our departments, and that's because we have such great quality people. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And I'll just echo those comments. I was on the phone with you at almost 8 o'clock last night when I was driving back from Pixley Town Council. And as usual, it seems like it's a weekly occurrence. You're answering the phone and helping with all the concerns that are brought to my attention. And your promotion is well deserved. And thank you for your dedication to Tulare County over 25 years. That's tremendous and still going. And you're enjoying it, and you're proud to be a county employee. And that's hopefully a an environment and a feeling that we can instill in all of our county employees where they are proud to work for Tulare County and do the great things that I know you do and enjoy each and every day. So congratulations, and look forward to working with you in your new capacity.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Are there any other public comments this morning? Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Michael Krebs at 3750 South Demery in Visalia. I'm here representing the Arts Consortium, and we are having our 4th annual Taste the Arts Festival. The county has actually recognized us as the Arts Council for Tulare County. We want to thank you for that. We want to thank Phil Cox for supporting us with a step-up program for the urbanist. And we now have a new opera company that started up, Visalia Opera Company, and they'll be having a performance in November. What I'm here to do is talk a little bit about the Taste. It's on Garden Street Plaza, from Garden Street all the way to the Lumberyard. First year we had it, we had about 6 artists in the street, and we sold nothing, and hardly anybody showed up. We're going to have close to 100 artists this year, and we hope to sell about $10,000 worth of art. But what we want to do is really kind of reach out to the county, and I'm actually in the process of going to all the city council meetings, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, is I'm asking for your support and your involvement as MCs. We're trying to break it down so that if you're able to, on October 19th, is to actually act as an MC for about an hour and a half. That gives you the opportunity to see kind of what we're doing with this one event, and then maybe how we can interact with your district and some involvement. We're trying to reach out to other activities. We're kind of an umbrella organization, so we're helping to kind of support people that are liking to do poetry and opera and urbanist art. So that's what you see in the letter, and there's the magazine. I'll leave some extra magazines if anybody wants it up here, but you can contact our office and see if there's a time slot when you'd be available. So that's what I'm here for. So thank you for your support, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck for a successful event coming up. Any other public comments this morning? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period and bring it to the Board of Supervisors for Board of Supervisors matters. Today we are going to start with Supervisor Michael J. Ennis.
Hey, no, it's T.
Okay, sorry. Just thought I'd throw it in there. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. You kind of caught me by surprise. Well, last night, Supervisor Rashid and I were at the 4-H Awards in Tulare at the Ag Building, and good turnout for that. Saw a lot of young people, 4-H kids who, I've been a 4-H leader now for about 28 years, so I really appreciate the people that are involved in that, and the kids that are involved in 4-H. They don't seem to get in trouble. So that was great. We had our mini gang summit last Thursday night at Dorey Street in East Porterville, and what a turnout. 200 to 300 people. It was solid people for the whole block, and we had a lot of resources out there for them to talk to. And what we're finding in these areas is that we still got the people that were there when we moved into these areas that were offenders. They're still being arrested. I mean, we haven't changed them. But we're not getting any new ones. We're not getting, the young people are staying on task. So staying in school, that's the key. I want to thank our marijuana suppression units, the RMA, and I see Consigli's here this morning. Thanks for all you're doing out there. You've been, as I say, hammering these guys, and every time I get a call from somebody, I'm turning it into Mr. Grove, and then the follow-up comes through. So great job out there. Sure, we're not getting them all, but I tell you what, they know we're there. So, and again, congratulations to Johnny on your promotion, and thanks for all your help on the roads and also on our safe routes to school as we continue to try to put more of those together. That's a very important part of keeping these kids safe. So that's about all I have. Thank you.
All right. Next, Supervisor Worthley.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, I represent the board on the Upper Kings River Basin Integrated Regional Water Management Authority. I had to look it up because I couldn't. Who can remember that? And the advisory board met last week, and the reason I was there is there was a recommendation to recommend to the authority that our flood control project up in the northern part of the county, which involves the restoration of Cottonwood Creek and flood control processes, be included within a list of projects that the authority would support for purposes of trying to gain additional grant or bond funding. So I wanted to be there to represent the board, and that will be the recommendation back to the authority. A project we're moving forward with regardless of whether or not we do get funding, but the more funding we have, obviously the more we could be able to do in that particular project, and the opportunities there are quite great. On Thursday, I represent the board at the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Governing Board meeting, and I just want to report that as of this date for 2013, we have not had one exceedance within the air district of the 1 hour ozone rule. Now, the 1 hour ozone rule was revoked, I think, nearly 10 years ago in favor of a more health protective 8 hour ozone rule. But nonetheless, it sort of follows along with you. And because of our violations of the past, which we've been very, very close, we've had to impose a $29 million fine on businesses and motorists in our county because that's a requirement by the federal EPA. So in the event that we are not going to have any violations, I don't want to make people think that their DMV fees are going to go down immediately, because once we get through the process, then we have to go back before the EPA. They have to make the finding that, in fact, we've not violated that rule, which sometimes can take 2 to 4 years, believe it or not. The fine will have to stay in place. But it is still good news in terms of our air quality, and ultimately, hopefully, we'll be able to reduce that fine. I was surprised that my colleague, Mike, did not mention that as of this Friday night, 2 undefeated teams will be playing each other. He and I both happen to be alumnus of those teams. Porterville High School and Dinuba High School are undefeated, and so I think it's going to be a great game played in Dinuba. So if you want to come to a good high school football game Friday night, come on up to Dinuba and take a look. Finally, well, there was something else I wanted to bring up, but I forgot what it was. I will be speaking to the Dinuba City Council this evening, updating them on what's happening in the county, and I believe that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, next, Supervisor Cox.
Last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to go out with our probation department and assist in some of their training, and I still have bruises all over me from that training. But I was excited. When I went up and said, I'd like to help, just what can I do? And they said, you can be the bad guy. So I fit that part pretty well.
Yeah, you do.
And so I got to play the bad guy. What I didn't realize is I would be the only person that they would be shooting at. So, but that was very exciting training to see how our probation officers train and dealing with the day-to-day situations they need to train with. They actually do scenarios that other probation officers have been involved with, and so very instrumental in having them ready to react when things go bad on the job. So it was very, very good to participate with them. Last Wednesday, we kicked off the Step Up Challenge Advisory Training. We have 18 junior high schools and 14 high schools that are participating this year. That's a 40% increase. Our junior high is at 100% increase in numbers in our high schools. So we're actually just about maxed out. We only had room for 3 more schools, so we're very excited about that. And we have only about a third of those that are coming back are repeats. So the excitement's building with the challenge. Thursday evening, I attended the Hispanic Chamber event that was held out in the industrial park. That was a well-attended event. Saturday, I actually took a tour trip of all of the sites that we're looking at for the mitigation banking project with the TCAG. As you know, I chair that committee. We have some exciting things coming forward with that the TCAG board approved, where we'll actually be creating a bank of our own for future traffic projects in the county. Today at 3 o'clock, we have our Step Up Executive Committee will meet, and we will work on our strategic planning for the next 3 to 5 years for the Step Up program. Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
All right, Supervisor Ishida.
Well, from my vantage point of watching Chief Christy Myers laughing, I guess you did have quite an experience at the probation department. Last Wednesday, I attended the California Freight Advisory meeting on behalf of the 8 Valley County Transportation Agencies. And I guess we have meetings every 2 months now. The next one's in San Diego. And we're looking to get consensus on a statewide freight movement plan so we get national recognition of approval from the federal government for financing for our freight movement. On Thursday, I attended the Regional Water Quality Board meeting in Fresno, and they adopted regulations for groundwater monitoring, and this involves Fresno, Kings, Tulare, and Kern County, and that's approximately 3 million irrigated acres in the 4 counties in the Tulare Lake Basin, and the cost is going to run between $30 million to $60 million a year. They're going to take out of our economies for a groundwater monitoring program, basically a study. So that's a substantial amount of money, and the results from that study and whatever happens to the regulations probably will not be realized for at least 20 years. So we can look forward to them taking that money out of our economies for a very long time. On Friday, I met in Lemon Cove at the Lemon Cove Elementary School, and we're trying to work out a safe route to school program, which a lot of our unincorporated communities have elementary schools that have these traffic issues. And I know that Supervisor Ennis has done a lot of work in his district, and I think we have a lot of schools that we need to address throughout the county. When we had an earlier presentation by our Register of Voters on registration day, it's extremely important that people register to vote. We take an oath of office, any elected official, to protect against foreign threats and domestic threats. And looking at the state legislature and the governor's office, I think our domestic threat is greater than our foreign threat. So I certainly encourage everyone to vote. Thank you.
Thank you for that public service announcement from our District 1 Supervisor. All right, just to go over a couple things that I wanted to cover. First of all, this Thursday, the Human Resources and Development Department will be putting on a health fair. This is an annual event, and they do a fantastic job providing resources for our employees so that they can take control of their own health destiny, and that's really the only way that we're going to improve our overall health in our county as employees and also as a community. There are going to be several different events there, including Wii competitions, ballroom dancing competitions, and painting a bike, I think. And there's a lot of different workshops and services that are available for people to learn about. So it should be a great event this Thursday. Also wanted to talk about some events that are happening in Tulare this weekend. The Tulare Kings Suicide Prevention Task Force is putting on a Festival of Hope this weekend at the Tulare Outlet Mall. That's a very well-attended event by children and people of all ages who get to come out and participate in sidewalk art contests, see concerts, and really learn about different resources that are available to them for suicide prevention. We know that's a topic that can affect so many of us in our community, and sure hope that we get a great turnout and they have a wonderful event there, and appreciate all the work that staff does to put that together. Also, there will be a NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness walk Saturday beginning at 9 a.m. at Del Lago Park. That's another great event that's really doing well with attendance. Last year, they had several hundred folks show up at the Del Lago Park, and it's really a great event. And, of course, it's one of the most beautiful parks in all of Tulare County, and it's right there in Tulare. So, lastly, I will cover another event that's happening on Saturday. It's a busy day. is the Bounty of the County event at the Seven Sycamores Ranch put on by the Farm Bureau. That's Saturday evening. I believe it starts around 5 or 6. Tickets are still available, and it's a great showcase of our local bounty that's produced right here in our county. And didn't even think of that rhyme before I said it, but it was pretty good, I thought. And then lastly, I will say that you now have a supervisor who's approaching 30. I just turned 29 on Sunday, and I'm really starting to feel old, so maybe give me some consolations or keep me in your thoughts and prayers.
We'll buy you some Geritol.
Thanks, appreciate it.
25 years.
One thing I forgot
Yeah,
to mention,
sure,
and that is this Saturday is the world-famous Raisin Day Festival of Dinuba, which will be this weekend, including the parade at 10 o'clock in the morning. In the park will be carnival rides and good food and entertainment, so come on out for the Dinuba Raisin Festival.
All right. With that, that wraps up Board of Supervisors matters. We will now take up the consent calendar real quick before getting to our timed items. Item number 24 will be pulled for separate vote, and there's also an addendum item that is to be included with our consent calendar. Are there any items that members of the public would like to have removed from the consent calendar? Members of the board, any additional items? All right. Seeing no further items to be removed,
Motion to approve absent minded 24, including the addendum.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Worthley, a second by Supervisor Cox. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We will now take up item number 24. I think this was just a request for a separate vote. This is regarding the Matheny Tract Planning Grant for $100,000. Any further comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, before we vote, I think the funds will better be used to install curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, and not a plan to do so.
I agree, but I think we got to get there first, and then we'll take a plan, and
I'd move for
I'm
approval.
glad we're going to see this move forward.
I'd
So
move for
with
approval.
that, please vote on this item. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a motion from Supervisor Ennis, a second by Supervisor Worthley. Please vote. Supervisor Ishida. All right, we have a vote of 3-2. Vanderpool, Worthley, Ennis, yes, and Ishida and Cox, no. Item passes. We will now take up our timed items, beginning with item number 9, which is a public hearing, a request from the Resource Management Agency to certify a negative declaration. Mr. Spada.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, County Administrative Officer, Council. Mike Spada, RMA Planning. The matter before you today is a requested approval of a change of zone, PZ 13-002, identified as Cassidy, Ivanhoe. In terms of giving you an overview, essentially this is a request for a change of zone, specifically from exclusive Ag 80-acre minimum, AE80, to exclusive Ag 20-acre minimum, AE20, on a 39.66-acre parcel within the Rural Valley Lands Plan. The applicants are Herman and Virginia Cassidy, and the project intention is to continue farming operations. The location is 1/4 mile west of Road 188, 2 miles east of Ivanhoe, near Venice Hill. This is an aerial photo of the subject property. I'm pointing it to you here. As the next map will illustrate, all the property here, and here is currently classified in terms of zoning as AE20. The AE80 is more on the steeply sloping hillside to the west. All right, here's the subject property again. It's a little bit fuzzy, but this is all AE20, and this is AE80, so it is wholly consistent with the neighborhood zoning to rezone this subject property. All right, in terms of general plan consistency, the paperwork before you demonstrates that the proposed project, the proposed rezone, is consistent with our general plan. The subject property is designated Valley Agriculture. That means it must remain in intensive agricultural use, and each lot must maintain a 10-acre minimum, both of which criteria are met here. With regard to the RVLP analysis, it is not required here because the subject property will include each site remaining over 10 acres, and the site will remain in prime agricultural land. In other words, there will not be a conversion from prime ag land to another use. And as mentioned earlier, AE20 zone lots are in abundance adjacent to the subject property. All right, the project timeline, just to give you some background here, the proposed application for change of zone was submitted on July 9th, and we've worked our way through the process, including the Planning Commission hearing, and we are here today, September 24th, within 90 days. Before I make the recommendation with regard to the property, I do want to thank the applicants, the Cassidys. They have been tremendous in working with us to try to get this project through on an expedited basis. I'd also like to thank project planner Chuck Przybylski, who did the lion's share of this work in getting it together, keeping this on fast track so that the applicant can meet an important deadline with the Cal Veterans Administration with regard to a loan issue that needs to be addressed. So, with the background, it is respectfully recommended that your board certify and approve the addendum to the negative declaration pursuant to CEQA that supports this project. Also, that you find that there is no substantial evidence that this change of zone will have a significant effect on the environment. 3, you direct the Environmental Assessment Officer of RMA to file the appropriate notice of determination with the Tulare County Clerk. Next, you adopt the findings of approval for this change of zone. Next, you waive the final reading and adopt the amendment to Ordinance Number 352 of the Tulare County Zoning Ordinance. And finally, you direct the Clerk of the Board to publish the adopted ordinance and amend the zoning map. That concludes staff's presentation, and this is a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
All right, are there any questions from board members? All right, this item is a public hearing. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there are any questions or comments from members of the public in attendance. Sure, sir, please come forward, and you can use either microphone. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Herman Cassidy, 32801 Road 188, Visalia. And I just want to express my appreciation for the time the board and the RMA department has taken in evaluating something that's a real need to our family, and hope that it will proceed in a successful way. The biggest impression that I have to comment on as far as to this point in the process is my appreciation to Mike and Chuck and others in the RMA department that have really been super professional as far as assisting in getting this to this point. So I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. Any further questions or comments from members of the public? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will bring it back to the board for discussion and action.
Sure, I just wanted to reveal that I did meet with Mr. Cassidy on this matter before he went to our staff and proceeded with this. That has no bearing on my decision here today. I do want to commend staff. Mr. Cassidy came to my office, presented a very distinct problem for him with dealing with the ownership and his financing with the Cal Vets organization. I didn't know how it was going to be resolved, but I figured there was somebody in the RMA department that did, and Mr. Spot, of course, who was very good at finding solutions to problems, came up with this, I think, very good solution, and the outcome is going to be positive for all concerned, and so I'm very glad to move the approval of this item, items 1 through 6.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Worthley, a second by Supervisor Ennis. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We will now move on to item number 10. That is a public hearing as well, a request from the Resource Management Agency to certify that the board has reviewed and considered information related to the Terabella Medical Clinic. Mr. Spada.
Thank you.
Thanks for using the full screen for this PowerPoint. Sure
as well as
appreciate
Mr. Przybylski.
Makes it a little easier to see.
RMA staff is delighted to present this matter to your Board of Supervisors. Essentially, it is the proposed approval of a change of zone, PZ 13-004, for the project entitled Terabella Medical Clinic. In terms of the project overview, this is a request for a change of zone from two-family residential R2 to professional office on a 21,000 square foot site within the community of Terabella. The applicant is Family Healthcare Network. The project is to rezone to construct a health care clinic. The location is within the Terabella School District, and site control is maintained by a lease agreement with the school district. Here's the aerial, and the subject property, if I can get the pointer working okay, is right here. School is in this area here, and you can see there is an urbanized area within Terabella which would be able to service and access the proposed facility very, very easily. All right, here is the site plan. Here's the proposed facility. This is the proposed parking. There are approximately 22 spaces, which are more than adequate in order to service the proposed project. All right, general plan consistency. This was a good one. This project is wholly consistent with our new general plan policies in that this promotes the smart growth and healthy communities policy. It also supports the policy to promote public activity centers. It also demonstrates infill development, and it also allows joint use of facilities and programs with the school district. It is wholly consistent with the Terabella Community Plan in the sense that it is designated public, quasi-public, and the subject property, the rezone rather, would be consistent with that community plan designation. Project timeline, project was in July 17th. It is through to your board on September 24th today for final adoption and approval 90 days. I would like to really call out a tremendous project management team that helped this project get to this point. First, I'd like to thank the applicant, Family Healthcare Network, and the contractor, Perch Construction, because they have been tremendous to work with as this process has been really streamlined to get through the system. I'd also like to, again, thank Chuck Przybylski, who was the project manager that led this. However, he had tremendous help from Jason LeBeau at the Permit Center, Dennis Lehman, the building official, in order to concurrently fast-track the building permit process, in the sense that if everything goes well today, the final building permit should be issued immediately because the plans have been evaluated concurrently. In fact, a temporary building permit, subject to your approval, has been issued so that the preliminary work has already started, and the benefit is that the applicant can meet its grant obligations in getting operational this year. So this dual fast-tracking process has allowed this process to really hit the ground. Would also like to thank our two shadow participants, that is Mike Washam and Eric Coyne, who behind the scenes kept this project on track and got it through on time, within budget, so that we can reach this hopefully favorable result today. Craig Anderson, also from Public Works, assisted with regard to the sewer issue, and we are grateful for that. So, in conclusion, this is a public hearing, and we respectfully request that your board certify that the categorical exemption that has been proposed for this project be approved. Secondly, that you also find that there is no substantial evidence that the proposed change of zone will have a significant effect on the environment. Thirdly, you direct the environmental assessment officer to file the appropriate notice of determination with the county clerk. That you also adopt the findings of approval for the proposed change of zone. You waive the final reading, adopt the amendment to ordinance number 352, and finally direct the clerk of the board to publish the adopted ordinance and amended zoning ordinance. And finally, this is a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
All right, are there any questions from board members?
Steve's got a comment.
President.
This is much needed. Where this is located makes this a walkable community. They can walk. We're working on safe routes to school for that area too, to tie it all together. But there hasn't been a medical facility out there for over 50 years. So, I mean, this is great, and I know that these healthcare look at their the logistics and who's using their facilities now and say, hey, we've got a lot of people from Terabella using our facilities. So, great for the community and great project. Just thanks, RMA, for all your help on this and getting it moved forward. Sure appreciate it. And thanks to Family Healthcare Network for all their efforts, too.
Supervisor Cox, any other question as well?
Yeah, any comments at the Planning Commission level? Negative?
No negative comments whatsoever.
Thank you.
Only positive.
All right. With that, this is a public hearing. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is any public comment or question regarding this item. All right. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and I will bring it back to the board for discussion and action.
I would move for approval.
All right. We have a motion by
Second.
Supervisor Ennis, a second by Supervisor Cox. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'd like to make
Supervisor.
an observation of the last two items, that RMA has been able to move these projects forward in a very short period of time. And I think it bodes well that Tulare County is open for business. And thank you very much, and my congratulations to the RMA department to moving these projects forward.
Yeah, real kudos to you. This is pretty amazing to move these projects forward as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as you have done so. I think it really speaks well about Tulare County and Tulare County staff. So, again, thank you. We will now move on to item number 29, which is the last item on today's agenda. That is a request from the County Administrative Office to approve maintenance and landscape plan option A, B, C, or D for Potter's Field at Traver Pioneer Cemetery. Mr. Jedediah.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, County Administrative Officer Gene Rousseau, and Deanne Peterson, County Counsel. Jed Chernabayev, I'm an Administrative Analyst with the County Administrative Office. And today I would like to briefly go over the presentation. Why are we here? A little background on Potter's Field, our indigent burial program, our existing maintenance and landscaping options, and John Hess is going to come and speak about funding, and then we'll seek some direction. So how did we get here? In 2012, the 2012-13 grand jury wanted a variety of reports from your board. One of them included the indigent burial program. Within that report, they recommended three things, and your board agreed to two of them. The first one was signage, which includes hours and some contact information, which your board agreed. The second was landscape and maintenance, and the third recommendation was to fix the fence, which upon a site visit we found the fence to be adequate. Along with your response, you told the grand jury, please allow us 60 days to facilitate some coordination between departments so we could figure out short-term and long-term maintenance and landscape solutions. So a little bit of background. Traver Pioneer Cemetery was founded in 1880. In 1950, the Tulare County, we acquired the deed. Potter's Field records its first burial in 1963, and we utilize Potter's Field for our indigent burial program. So how does the Tulare County Indigent Burial Program works? How does it work? An indigent person deceases. That person is transported to a funeral home for cremation. After cremation, HHSA pays that funeral home $700 for the cost. That the cremated individual is transported to our coroner's office, where they are held for 18 months to allow family or next of kin to claim the cremains. If family or next of kin does not collect the cremains, they are then transported to the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District. The Kingsburg Public Cemetery District holds the cremains until they have enough for a mass burial, which John will go in a little bit later during funding, and then there will be a mass burial. The last time there was a mass burial was in 2006, and since then, the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District has collected 213 indigent cremains from the coroner's office. They are planning to do a mass burial in December of this year or January of next year. Our existing maintenance and landscaping, the Tulare County Probation Juvenile Work Program does perform the maintenance of Potter's Field. Each month they visit to pick up trash, pull weeds, clear tumbleweeds, and mow remaining turf. However, there is a challenge to landscaping Potter's Field, and that is there is no water source for the parcel. And I'd like to take a quick moment to acknowledge our Chief Probation Officer, Christy Meyer, who's dedicated those resources to Potter's Field. and she has also been involved in the planning process leading up to today. Here's some recent photos of those youth out there at Potter's Field. So we took a site visit in August. There was Supervisor Worthley and Chairman Vanderpool did have an opportunity to visit Potter's Field, as well as some probation staff, staff from the County Administrative Office and General Services. At that time, a couple of the supervisors, Chairman Vanderpool and Supervisor Worthley, asked that we look at some landscaping options for Potter's Field and bring it back to the board for discussion. Staff with the Probation Department, County Administrative Office, and General Services have met, and we have come up with 4 options for your board to consider with some cost estimates. The first option would be really more in compliance with the grand jury's recommendation of providing signage, and that would be a sign with hours, date, and contact information. And at the request of the Probation Department, the Juvenile Work Program, they would like to see 2 portions of the fence that divides the property removed. That would allow them, the youth workers, easier access to both sides so they could landscape and maintain the property more efficiently. Option B would be, in addition to option A, constructing a memorial at the entrance to the Potter's Field and Traver Pioneer Cemetery. The estimated cost would be $8,400. Option C would be A and B plus a decomposed granite path. The idea would be to completely remove the center fence that divides the parcel and replace that with a decomposed granite path, so the folks can go and visit the plots where people are buried. If you haven't visited Potter's Field, the indigent folks are buried on the north end of the property, and the entrance is on the south part of the parcel. Option D would be A, B, and C plus an arbor. At the time that we visited Potter's Field, it was in the middle of August. It was very hot and uncomfortable, and we kind of felt, or at the time the discussion was, if folks are going to go out and visit family members or friends, we would provide some comfort for those folks in the event that they do want to visit the field. So I'm going to invite John Hess to come up here and kind of discuss funding for this project.
Thank you, Jed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. CAO, Ms. County Counsel. John Hess with the County Administrative Office. Jed and I have been looking into this for the last couple of weeks, and we've investigated this and found that there is ultimately no permanent source of funding for the improvements that we're proposing this morning, nor is any permanent source of funding for the long-term maintenance of this facility. Based off our investigation, we are ultimately proposing that the board consult with the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District to request financial assistance from them for the initial improvements and potentially some sort of ongoing relationship as well. In addition to that, there's obviously other sources of funding that the board could consider. General fund dollars, outside funds, maybe through grants if there's some sort of granting opportunities for this, and then further financial assistance. As Jed mentioned, the probation department has been very generous in providing free services for maintenance to this as part of their youth program. Ultimately, the reason that we have come to this conclusion and making this recommendation for funding is because the county presently has a contract with the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District. The Traver Cemetery in Potter's Field, the single property split in two, is located within the boundaries of the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District. And so, as Jed showed with the flow chart, when the cremains are ultimately given to the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District for storage until burial, we have a contract for those services, both for the storage and for the burial. It was previously a 5-year contract. We've now converted it to a single-year contract. During the previous 5-year contract period of 2008 to 2013, it was a total of $12,500. That's a $2,500 annual payment, so it's relatively small. That stipulated within the contract, for that amount of money, the services that the county would receive for Potter's Field would be storage of 112 cremains every year to add up to whatever, 560 or whatever that would be times 5, and then one annual mass burial. Every year they would do a mass burial of that 112 cremains. The actual statistics of those of that 5-year period during that contractual time is that the indigent burial program included the cremation of 567 total indigent deceased individuals. That is very close to that 112. It is actually 113 total annual average cremations. However, as Jed mentioned during his flow chart, after the funeral home cremates the individual and the cremains, HHSA pays the $700 to the funeral home, the cremains then are given to the coroner's office, and the coroner's office holds them for 18 months. 74% of the cremains have been claimed by family members or next of kin during that 18-month period. So the vast majority, 3/4 of the cremains are claimed and not given to Kingsburg Cemetery District, nor do they end up in Potter's Field. Of the 567 total indigents in the program, 150 or 30 per year were ultimately transported and are presently stored at the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District. As Jed also mentioned, 2006 was the most recent mass burial that Kingsburg has done for us, so it wasn't even within this contract period. So it is ultimately our proposal that we amend our agreement going forward with the Kingsburg, and that we seek to sort of propose financial assistance given the services rendered versus the services paid to the Kingsburg Public Cemetery District. So that is ultimately one solution that staff is definitely proposing to the board this morning.
And thanks, John. And as we mentioned before, we are seeking direction. We're asking the board to approve one of the maintenance and landscape options, as well as provide direction to us regarding financing approved maintenance and landscape option for Potter's Field at Traver Pioneer Cemetery.
All right, any questions by board members? Supervisor Worthley? All right, Supervisor Ennis, you want to go ahead?
No, this cemetery is just dirt, right? There's no grass, there's no water.
There is not a water resource. However, in the winter when it does rain, it does provide for some foliage on the ground.
Weeds.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
I didn't see anything in there for like pre-emergent or something. If you could put pre-emergent down, it would sure help with the maintenance on it. If you could keep the weeds from coming up, so that's not a real expensive item.
Okay, Supervisor Worthley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is just sort of indicative of sometimes like we've had this ongoing contract with Kingsburg Cemetery District. Now, just to back up a little bit, the reason we have this is that this area is within the Kingsburg Cemetery District boundaries. They receive approximately $50,000 a year in property increment from Tulare County portion that goes to the Kingsburg area, to their cemetery district. However, most people, and I say most, I mean the vast majority of people who are buried in the district are buried in Kingsburg. There have been a very few people buried in this particular cemetery district, but most of them are actually buried in Kingsburg. And there, if you are a resident, you have a discount price for your interment, and that would be part of why they get that comes from the tax increment. But what this does demonstrate is that we've had a contract that was predicated upon the concept of 100-plus cremains coming in annually, doing annual work. As it turns out, it's much fewer than that, and they haven't had to have one since 2006. So, in a sense, they have been paid for services that they have not rendered, nor did they really have to render them. And I think this is an opportunity to go back and really renegotiate that contract to reflect reality and hopefully get that price reduced, which could then provide funding that we're now spending out of general fund for this could be used for this particular project. My own personal thought is that whatever we look to do here is not like we're etched in stone. Some of it is etched in stone. But the idea is that we can always go back and do more, and we don't have to do as much today. I personally think that number B is a very good option. Removing the fence down the middle, I think, makes perfectly good sense. Why we did that in the first place, I'm not really sure. It's almost like segregation, indigents over here, people who aren't indigents over there. But it will make it much easier to maintain the property. And it included spray painting the fence black. Now, Neil Pilgard was there, and he was very helpful in our discussions. Because there was some thought, well, we really need to do some plantings here. But the problem is, as was said, there is no water system there. So once you put since the cost of putting in a water system would be quite a lot, Then there's the maintenance cost. Once you put, if you put turf in there, then you've got to mow it every week. You have to edge. You have all these kinds of other expenses. So I think the option of going to more of a natural landscape, which is native vegetation, and managing it makes a lot of sense. In that regard, when we look at option D, the concept there would be putting in improvements, but again, not putting in irrigated type of improvements. There would be improvements where you have an arbor, things like that. Would be people could go and they could sit and they could be in shade. And that would be, I think, a great project, but I don't know that we want to undertake that currently. But I think the idea of taking down the fence, putting up a flagpole, putting up a headstone that provides a history of the field and the Pioneer District, and spray painting the fence. The idea about spray painting the fence is it's now just a galvanized metal fence. If it's painted black, it basically kind of disappears into the background. And the area is surrounded by agricultural property, trees and so forth. It's fruit trees. So it really would improve the appearance, we think, of the facility if we did that. So that would be kind of my thoughts on the process. And we're interested. Of course, this is the Potter's Field for all of counties in my district, but it serves all of our constituents. And so I'd be very interested in what other folks are thinking.
All right. At this time, I can ask for other colleagues. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment? Just I want to open it up. Okay. Go ahead.
Have we had discussions with the cemetery district?
This is a county-owned property, but regarding financing or renegotiating the agreement, no. We have had contact to get statistics and data on the amount of cremated folks that they've received and what their process is.
This is not general fund money. This is HHSA money, HHSA contract. It's not a general fund contract.
It's not certain. I couldn't clarify as if it comes out of HHSA's general funds amount, but it is paid for by the HHSA department right now.
It is. It doesn't come out. It's in the general fund, but it's paid with state and federal dollars.
Okay.
I kind of concur with what Supervisor Worthley had said. Are you done, or did you have more? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, you just were kind of taking a little break there, so I thought you might have run out of wind. Go ahead.
I never run out of wind. Reading through this, it sounds like we're going to buy cases of spray paint. I don't know if that's a great idea. There are roll-on paints that can go on just actually better than spray paint, and you don't spray 99% into the air and 1% onto the wire. So I would think you might be able to put a little more thought into how you're going to paint this fence. It might take longer, but you're not going to be spraying all that stuff into the air. I agree that, I don't want to see us sinking a whole lot into this. I'm wondering, if there's no access now, how many people actually visit this cemetery since it's just, a field. I'm concerned with an arbor for me would be, putting up a backboard for someone to graffiti. So, I think the idea of doing minimal here and then having good discussions with the cemetery district moving forward is the prudent way to move. But spray was spray paint what was recommended here? It's kind of what looked like in the details to me.
Yeah, we were working with the probation supervisor who supervises the youth, and he put together the estimate. After he put together the estimate, he mentioned that he does have access to a spray machine, so purchasing all of the spray paint cans would probably not happen. But at the time, that's how we figured the estimate. And he said the spray gun would probably be more cost effective as well.
This is nitpicky. You can roll on a good Rust-Oleum, and if you're using, the youth who are in a work program, I'm not going to tell them how to do it, but I wouldn't like to see them spray this because 99% is going into the air and 1% is going onto the fence.
I see you've got a flagpole down here. Is there electricity there so it can be lit so nobody has to put it up and take it down?
There is no electricity out there, but if we do decide to light the flagpole, possibly we can get maybe a solar light.
get a solar landscaping light. And the flagpole is actually a donation from the Central Valley Vietnam Vets organization, I think is how it's going to happen there. I was just going to say I concur with my colleagues about option B, I believe it is. I think this is something we can just, really clean it up, make it something that's a little more respectful, and, minimal costs, and we post signage, maybe request or post contact information, monitor the request to actually enter the site, and should there be high utilization or cause for reconsideration, we can bring it back at a later date and maybe go with the formal creation of an arbor or something of that sort. But right now I think option B is a good option. I encourage us to work with the Kingsburg Cemetery District, which does get $50,000 a year in property tax money from the residents in this area. I know that's between Kingsburg and other areas, but I think we can look to them, and also in mind of our contract that we didn't really get much service for. So our annual burial we've been getting a good bang for the buck, considering the last one was done in 2006. So I think we can. There's some options here, and I think we can definitely not be on the hook for the entire cost. But with that, the chair will entertain motion and direction. Supervisor Ness, you got further comments?
I was just saying, and continue to look for maybe grant money too.
Yeah.
That we can put towards this, maybe one-time money.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve option B, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Wardley, second by Supervisor Ennis. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for all your work on this, and that is our last open session item. Council, do we have need for closed session?
Yes, thank you. I understand that item A is off agenda, and so you'll be proceeding into closed session on items B through D on the regular agenda, and items E and F on the addendum, and we do anticipate reporting out on one item.
All right, thank you very much, Council, and appreciate attendance at today's meeting.
B. This is Deanne Peterson, Chief Deputy County Counsel. In the matter of item B, the board voted to defend this action and also to authorize a defense with a reservation of rights for any named employee defendants. On the motion of Supervisor Worthley and a second by Supervisor Ashita on a unanimous vote. This ends the reporting out for September 24th, 2013.